Noura was a famous wedding singer. For many years, she traveled with her small band from town to town, performing at weddings and celebrations. People loved her voice, and many families invited her to sing at their special events. Most of the weddings she attended were full of joy. There was always music, laughter, dancing, and delicious food. Noura enjoyed her work and had never experienced anything strange during her performances. Until one night. It was almost midnight when Noura received a phone call from an unknown number. When she answered, a man with a deep voice spoke calmly. "Are you Noura, the wedding singer?" he asked. "Yes," she replied. "We would like you to perform at a wedding tonight. The payment will be very generous." Noura was surprised. It was unusual to receive a request so late at night, but the money sounded good. After thinking for a moment, she agreed. She called her band members, and soon they were on the road heading toward the location the man had sent her. As they drove farther away from the city, the streets became darker and quieter. There were no streetlights, no houses, and no other cars. Only trees and empty land surrounded them. After almost an hour of driving, they finally saw a large house standing alone in the distance. Some lights were shining from the windows, and faint music could be heard from inside. "This place feels strange," one of the musicians said, but Noura told them to stay calm. They entered the house and saw many guests sitting in a large hall. However, something felt unusual immediately. The guests were completely silent. No one was talking or laughing. They were simply watching the band. Trying to ignore the uncomfortable feeling, the band started playing music, and Noura began to sing. Slowly, the guests stood up and started dancing. Their movements looked strange. They moved slowly and stiffly, almost like puppets. While singing, Noura looked around the room. Suddenly, she noticed something that made her heart freeze. One of the dancers had hooves instead of feet. She blinked and looked again, hoping it was only a shadow. But then she saw another guest with long twisted fingers, and another with glowing eyes. Fear filled her chest. A few minutes later, servants brought food to the tables. When Noura looked at the plates, she felt sick. The plates were full of raw meat. Some of the guests grabbed the meat and began eating it eagerly. At that moment, Noura understood the horrible truth. This was not a normal wedding. These were jinn. Trying not to panic, she slowly moved closer to her band and whispered quietly. "Don't panic," she said. "Keep playing. When I say run, we run." The musicians nodded nervously. The music continued, and the guests kept dancing in slow circles. Then suddenly, the lights flickered. The room became darker for a moment. "Run!" Noura shouted. The band immediately stopped playing and rushed toward the door. For a few seconds, everything was silent. Then they heard something terrifying behind them. Laughter. Deep, strange laughter that did not sound human. Noura looked back for a second. The dancers had stopped moving. They were standing still, staring at the band with wide, unnatural smiles. Some of their eyes were glowing in the darkness. The band ran outside, jumped into their car, and drove away as fast as they could. After a long drive, they reached a small village. Noura approached an old man and asked him about the large house in the field. When the old man heard her description, his face became pale. "That house?" he whispered. "It has been abandoned for more than 30 years. No one lives there." Noura felt a cold chill run down her spine. "But we just performed at a wedding there," she said. The old man slowly shook his head. "People say strange things happen near that place at night," he said quietly. "Sometimes travelers hear music coming from the house, even though it is empty." From that night on, Noura refused to sing at unknown weddings. And even today, some villagers say that on quiet nights, faint music can still be heard coming from that lonely house. And sometimes, if the wind is silent, you might also hear laughter in the dark.